Bam! Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, the Minister Jonathan Simmons. You can see it right down there on the bottom of the screen. First of all, before we go any further, we want to welcome all of the replay viewers on Periscope, which is Twitter TV. We also want to thank everybody who's watching us on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. Big shout out to those of you watching on WIGOAM.com as well on our Watch Now page. We appreciate each and every one of you who have tuned in to join us here on the broadcast this evening. Well, man, great stuff here. We are right smack in the middle now of football season. It's official. It's official. High school football kicked everything off here and around the nation. Here in Georgia, it was the Corky Kell Classic. Big games going on, cross-sectional games, teams playing from different sides of Metro Atlanta. And we'll be talking about that in our high school wrap-up at 9 p.m. hour. The other cool thing is the Real Talk Sports Show was on the scene live at Clayton County as we did our very first live video stream on Clayton County. The entire game, last year we did the game. It was primarily audio. We did the radio with WIGO and did some limited stuff on Facebook and on Periscope. But we did it up big time on Friday night, doing the entire game, multicast streaming on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Periscope. Great reaction by the fans. Appreciate all those of you who have decided to follow us on these different platforms, and definitely for the number of subscribers that jumped on and have subscribed to our YouTube channel. Big thanks to all of you for that. And we're going to look forward to bringing you guys good content each and every week as we come to you on the Real Talk Sports Show, and bring you also on Friday nights, the Friday night a game of the week from Clayton County's Tara Stadium. I should say Hines Ward Field. Historic Tara Stadium is the official name now. They now have a brand new scoreboard up there, and really great stuff. And we'll talk about all of that again in the 9 p.m. hour. Well, sports continues to get back into the middle of things for us, as now football is officially up and running. We got football going on at every level, high school, college, and pro. So we are excited now that that's happening. And I think it's kind of good for the nation with all the stuff that's been going on in the nation with the protest, the pandemic. I think that people really need an escape. And really, to be very candid, that's what sports has always been for us, not just here in the U.S., but even around the world. It's been an escape, for people to get away from, in many cases, what is the humdrum of their lives. Let's be honest. It's been kind of blasé where you go to work. Many of you put in, many hours at work, 50, 60, sometimes 70 hours of hard work. And it's like, man, come the weekend, we want to do something different. We want to, kind of escape from all that. I know it's been kind of hard for people to do that recently with all the protests going on. And certainly I've heard some comments about that. Even talked to a fellow employee, and he was saying the number of people that he knew that were fans at the season ticket level who were like, man, they just totally turned off of the whole thing. And I get it. I get why people would be upset because, you go into the game to watch a game per se, and now you have to worry about, basically the same political hubbub that you get during the rest of the week. But that's the time we're in. But you don't see that in high school. High school, you get none of that. And like you said, we'll talk about that in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll also talk about, the idea of fans coming back. We asked the question a few weeks ago, if you are a fan watching, are you looking to go back in and watch teams play? And I'm going to pop this up here. I'm going to see if I can get a chance to pop it in the comments here, because I want to know, would you go and watch live sports? Let's put this, would you go to a high school football game? Would you go? That's my question to you out here. And I'm going to type it in so you guys can see it. Again, I appreciate those of you who might be listening on any type of recorded podcast. You say, we can't see you. But I'm asking the question so you can hear me. Would you go to a high school football game? That is the question I'm going to pop up here and ask you guys. Would you do it? Let me know. Put your comments in here so we can pop them up on the screen and let people know kind of what your thoughts are here as you are watching and listening to the Real Talk Sports Show as we broadcast to you on multiple platforms, including the people at WIGO 1570, Atlanta's Incredible Radio. We are on the air with them. We're also on the air at WIGOAM.com. You also can find us on the free TuneIn Radio app. If you don't have it downloaded, it's a free app. Put in WIGO 1570 in the search engine, and voila, you'll find us broadcasting to you right here and right now. So please join us here. As I ask the question again, would you go to a high school football game right now? That is the question for tonight. I'm going to ask you, would you go? Would you go to a high school football game? Or any game for that matter? Would you go to any sports? We talked to a lot of people who say even if they had season tickets, they wouldn't go to any type of game. People are still worried about getting something from the pandemic. So what's your thoughts about it? Would you go to a high school football game or not? You can answer me now, or you also, I'll pop this question up again in the 9 o'clock hour as we go on. There are other sports being played. We got basketball. We're going to talk to our man, the guy who is our basketball savant, Mr. Deshaun Tate will be joining us in just a few minutes, and we'll be talking about fans, at the really not at the games, but watching through the NBA bubble. We're also going to bring on some guys to talk to us about Georgia Tech football. I had a chance to listen in to the Georgia Tech football press conference as they talked about getting ready for their big game against Florida State. So we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about anything else that you guys want to talk about here on the Real Talk Sports Show. We love to do it. Love to get your comments in tonight. It's going to be kind of free-flowing tonight because we just came off of the holiday weekend. A lot of people are just still arriving back into town. I myself had to work, which is okay because like I said, if you don't work, you don't make any money. So I'm down with the cause, enjoy going to work. And I thank God for those people who decided to purchase a vehicle from me. And let me put it out here right now. I did it during the game. I'm going to put this out. If you are in need of a vehicle, please, ma'am, please, sir, come to see me. I'm at Allen Vigil Ford, who is our premier sponsor for high school football. I work for them. Please come on out and love to help you get a car for yourself or your family. And I'm doing something a little different. For those of you who know somebody, pick up the phone and give me a call. And if they buy a car from me from your referral, I'm going to do something. We're going to do a $100 referral fee. And here's how it's going to work. We're going to get $50 to you and then $50 to your favorite high school if you're from the area, because we want to really try to give back to the kids as much as we can. So again, give me a call. I'll pop my number up on the screen at 678-410-9833. I'll take care of you like the way you should be, professionally done. We have great prices, great service. It's at Allen Vigil Ford and Lincoln, 6790 Mount Zion Boulevard in Morrow, Georgia. And again, they are our premier sponsor of Clayton County High School football. That's right, Allen Vigil Ford is. And again, they're located right in Clayton County. So please come on out, and we would love to, take care of you. And then help support high school sports as well. Like I said, man, a lot's been going on out here in the world of sports. I don't know about you. I'm going to talk to my man about this. I haven't been watching much NBA basketball. I'll be very candid. I just haven't gotten the energy. Not energy. It just hasn't seemed to be too interesting to me. I haven't watched much of it at all because it still to me looks like I'm watching a rec league game. With no fans, a court that looks like what they did, basically slapped it together kind of real quick. It just doesn't have that feel. Even though they pipe in some crowd noise, even though they got those cardboard and I don't know what you want to call them. I guess you'd like to call them generic figures, virtual crowd. I'm not into it, man. I mean, I'm just being real candid. It just doesn't seem to have any zip for me. So I don't know what you think about it. Have you been watching it? We're going to talk to Deshaun Tate in just a few minutes to get his feedback on it. I know you Laker fans are feeling some kind of way about LeBron and the Lakers, winning a championship. I don't even know. I mean, to me, it to some degree, whoever wins this in baseball or in basketball, I mean, I know people are not too hype about putting an asterisk on it, but I mean, how can you really award a champion? I know the NBA had more games than Major League Baseball, but I'm like, you didn't even have a full season. And you got this kind of quote unquote NBA bubble where you had teams playing like for, I think it was, 10 games, and you jumped right into the playoffs. I don't know. To me, just the whole thing doesn't seem right. It doesn't. Some of the players didn't want to play, guys opting out. I mean, I kind of, like I said, I don't know about you, man, but I just kind of lost a lot of interest in professional sports, and especially in the basketball in the bubble, because it's, like you said, just look weird to me. So I don't know what you guys think. Have you been watching? Let me know. I'd love to hear your comments on it. Again, we're going to be talking to Deshaun Tate in just a minute so he can give us his sensibility about the NBA, what he's thinking about so far, who he thinks some of the stars are. There's been all kind of shade been thrown against Giannis. I can't pronounce his last name, Antetokounmpo, I think it is. I know that's the wrong way to say it, but a lot of shade thrown against him. A lot of people thinking that he is overrated. So like to hear your comments on what you think about who the stars have been in the NBA so far in this playoff time period as we get ready to have our guest for the evening to talk about basketball, Mr. Deshaun Tate, who will be, again, joining us in the building in just a few minutes. And we're going to break it down and chop it up on what's going on with the NBA. Of course, speaking of the NBA, this past week or so, it was a celebration of Kobe Bryant's birthday. Very, very sad that Kobe unfortunately passed away in a tragic helicopter accident along with 8 other people, including his daughter and close family friends as well. We don't want to rehash it, but definitely a very, very sad event. But people celebrating Kobe Bryant, his legacy, the whole Black Mamba way of doing business when you talk about sports. So again, we want to give a shout out to Laker Nation. We certainly want to give our continued condolences and blessings to his wife and his remaining family as they carry on with the loss of a guy that, he appears to be a sports giant to all of us and this figure that's bigger than life. But to his wife and to his kids, he was just a husband and father. And it's just anytime someone loses a parent, anytime, especially a young woman loses her husband after, recovering from something that, a lot of marriages don't recover from. Infidelity by Kobe splashed all over the news, a sloppy and very bad scandal. They recovered from that and really had made themselves kind of almost this couple to be admired by a lot of people. And now to have to deal with him being gone in really the prime of his life when he's getting ready to transition to other things, certainly continue prayers towards her and her family. Anybody that suffered that kind of loss, our prayers are out with them as well. So again, guys, that's kind of, I think, the flavor has been for me and for a lot of people, I think, who normally are avid sports watchers, is that because of all the tragedies that have hit us, again, Kobe's loss, the pandemic, the protests that are going on, the continued police brutality, the continued crime that is racking many inner city communities, the shenanigans going on in politics, it just has taken its toll, I think, on the psyche of the nation, and it's kind of robbed our ability to really enjoy sports the way we used to. I don't know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear your opinion and thoughts. You can certainly join us here in the Lockdown Living Room as we broadcast you live from just outside of Atlanta, GA. Just outside of Atlanta, GA. Like I said, good stuff going on in all the sports. Waiting for our guest for the evening, Mr. Deshaun Tate, to join us in just a few. He's got a lot going on, so he has been temporarily delayed from joining us. But again, we look forward to having him on with us in not too distant future. We're also going to be having at about the 8:30 hour, Rod McKenzie. He is a guy that does a lot for following the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. So he'll be talking to us about him and I both had a chance to sit in on the Zoom press conference with head coach Jeff Collins. Guy got a lot of energy. Kind of reminds us of me of a little bit younger Dan Quinn. All about the positivity, was talking about the soundtracks, all different kind of things. So we're going to talk to Rod about that and what his thoughts are about Georgia Tech and how they're going to fare in this season. And also talk about the fact that college football, talking about the asterisk, you have 2 of the Power 5 conferences opting, operative words here, right now, not to play any football. It's been floated out there that the Big Ten now might start playing a season sometime in late October. And who knows? This could all be in flux. We could turn around a month or less than a month from now and find out the Pac-10 and the Big Ten have decided to come back into the folds of college football. Because what we've been seeing is this. We've been seeing, in spite of this pandemic, players have been getting sick, but thank God nobody has been getting in critical condition. And certainly, thank God, nobody has passed away from this illness. So I think as more and more players test positive, go through the protocol and recover, I think that there's going to be more people saying, hey, let these guys play. As a matter of fact, last week when we interviewed Mount Zion and Jonesboro in preparation for their battle in the backyard, which was an epic game. One of the young men, I asked him how the COVID had affected his preparations for the upcoming season. And he was like, oh, well, sir, I'm okay now. And I've gotten through it and went through the protocol. I was like, got through it. And he said, yeah, I had the COVID. And he said, basically, went through all the protocols. They quarantined me. I got retested, and then eventually the doctors cleared me to play. And the young man went out there and played his heart out on Friday night. So again, as more good news comes in from either negative tests or players recovering after going through the proper protocol, I think that you're gonna see. I don't want to use the word pressure, but you're going to see certainly a lot more people from the Big Ten, the Pac-10, thinking, "Hey, you know what? We should get out here and play some football." All right, guys, we got to take a little break here. We'll be back with more of the Real Talk Sports Show. Don't go nowhere as we get ready to hopefully bring our guest, one of our guests for the evening, Mr. Deshaun Tate. All right, guys, keep it locked right here for more of the Real Talk Sports Show. We'll be back.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
Ha ha! I always like that as my man JB Smooth dropped in. For those people who are saying, well, where'd you get those from, those little drops? That was actually, I got a chance to cover the college football championship when it came to Atlanta. And ESPN had an event that they said we can be hanging out on the blue carpet and in 9-degree weather. Yeah, an unseasonably bad cold snap hit Atlanta that weekend, and temperatures plummeted to a stunning 9 degrees. That's right, 9 degrees in Atlanta, Georgia. I actually had to pull out my full-blown heavy-duty down parka. I had my down hood, my cowboy hat all scarfed up, gloved up with the heavy-duty ski gloves, everything, because we were outside there standing under heat lamps as best we could at 9 degrees, interviewing these guys on the blue carpet. Well, but it's great to be a part of the college football championship celebration. That unfortunately for Georgia fans, I would say to some degree, not just University of Georgia fans, but fans here in the Metro Atlanta area were very disappointed as the Bulldogs weren't able to pull off that win over Alabama, especially just like the Falcons had a big lead over the Patriots. They had a big lead over Alabama late in the game and unfortunately weren't able to hold on. But that's where all that you get those interviews from during our advertisement is when I was on the blue carpet for the ESPN. Again, for those of you just tuned in, we're watching and listening to the Real Talk Sports Show as we broadcast to you, first of all, on the radio on WIGO 1570, Atlanta's incredible radio, also on WIGOAM.com, also on the WIGOAM.com Facebook page, and their Watch Live page now. You also can watch us on YouTube Live. You also can watch us here, of course, on Facebook Live. And to those people popping up them hearts there on Periscope, we appreciate you for watching us on Periscope as well. Like I said, a lot of good stuff going on in the world of sports with the good news coming up with the COVID. Baseball doing well here in Atlanta, many areas around the country. I see baseball really has been engendering some excitement with the Atlanta Braves being in first place. Of course, you have diehard Yankee fans all around the country. They're hyped up about the Yankees making their run. So we're going to see a lot of teams that they make their push towards the World Series, which again, all will help us move forward. In other sports, golf came to Atlanta. Now, I got to tell you, this was rough on me because normally every year we cover the Tour Championship. And for those of you who are like me, kind of on the periphery and just cover golf primarily around the majors, this was always a huge event for us for a couple of reasons. Number one, big shout out and thanks to the PGA Tour for allowing even the smaller outlets like myself who don't cover golf normally to have almost unlimited access to the players and to the field at the legendary East Lake Golf Course. Every year we would go, and for us, it was just a must-do event. I mean, I would even take time off of work to go to the PGA Championship, to the Tour Championship, because a couple of these. Number one is the top 30 players in the nation. And so I got a chance, along with thousands of fans here in Metro Atlanta and beyond, to see not only the top 30 golfers of that year, but guys that, were marquee players. Guys like Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth and this year's winner, Dustin Johnson, and Brooks Koepka, two-time back-to-back U.S. Open champion. All these guys that we saw, Ricky Fowler, fan favorite, and of course, legendary guys like Phil Mickelson, and of course, the man himself, Tiger Woods. And we were able to see these guys up close and personal. Matter of fact, I was there when Tiger won that monumental Tour Championship 2 years ago. It was absolutely must-see TV. We were right there on the 18th greens. He came up, and it was incredible. So, unfortunately, this year we couldn't cover it because of the COVID protocols and because I now, again, as I mentioned, you working full-time for Allen Vigil Ford and Lincoln, so we weren't able to get out there. But again, big shout-out to Dustin Johnson for winning the FedEx Cup. Only thing I got to say about that is kind of weird is, I don't know what you guys think about this who do follow golf. I understand that the PGA Tour made a change a couple of years ago because they didn't want a situation where they kind of split it up, that the FedEx champion was different than the person that won the Tour Championship. Now, I understand why they did that, but to me, it took away some of the drama. You got a guy goes in and he's basically 10 shots up. First of all, it looks bizarre. It seems like, again, you're dumbing down the sport to make it look like how the hackers like me play, where somebody has to, give you, a handicap. So you got a guy going in here, one of the top players in the world, that basically has his score inflated by 10 shots, which is kind of goofy to me. I should say lowered by 10 shots. It comes in with a 10 shot lead. And that was kind of, goofy to me. And then the other thing is to be in a situation where, that was the goofiest thing. The other stuff doesn't count. But that to me kind of takes away from some of the drama. I used to love going in there on Saturday or Sunday. We had all these guys jockeying for position, trying to see based on where their points were coming in and where they scored that day. Would they be able to win the Tour Championship? Would they be able to win the FedEx Cup? Yeah, it was just incredible. Like I said, the times that I went, especially when Tiger Woods was on top of his game, it was just great. And the access, the availability to the players was off the chain. So, again, we give a big shout out to Dustin Johnson, winner of the Tour Championship and the FedEx Cup. And a big shout out to the PGA Tour, which is now, that's the end of their year. And they get ready and get set to be able to start a new year in the world of golf. So, again, PGA Tour making it happen. Also, you had hockey being played. NHL was being played. We had a guy that asked me, hey, can we talk more about hockey? And to be very candid, we were hoping to get a hockey person in to join us. We have not been able to do that yet, but hopefully we'll be able to do so and to have them talk to us a little bit about the NHL. When I was younger, I used to watch a lot of hockey, grew up in Connecticut, watched teams like the New York Rangers, the Boston Bruins, the Philadelphia Flyers, and of course was a millennial in the time of what I think was one of the premier times of hockey. And now I'm going to take it away back machine, which was, from my opinion, from the mid-'70s in through probably the mid-'90s, not taking anything away from recent Stanley Cup champions like the Tampa Bay Lightning, people like that. But that 20-year run, maybe 25-year run up to about the year 2000, to me, you had some of the best hockey I've ever seen. So many Hall of Famers playing, and so many teams that were legendary teams, the Blackhawks, the Montreal Canadiens, the Boston Bruins, the New York Rangers, all these teams, primarily from the Northeast, I'll admit it. Even to some degree, every now and then the Toronto Maple Leafs would pop in. But all these teams, the St. Louis Blues, all involved in battling for the Stanley Cup. And especially in the Northeast, the Philadelphia Flyers, the New York Islanders had that run where I believe they won 4 Stanley Cups in a row. And then, of course, who can forget the dominance of the Edmonton Oilers with Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier and Grant Fuhr, which I found out later was a black goalie. He was Afro-Canadian. So all these great teams that had these great runs of 3 or 4 Stanley Cups in a row, and it just went from one to another. Went from the Flyers, then to the Islanders, and then to the Edmonton Oilers. And like I said, all these legendary guys. I go back to the Islander teams, guys like Mike Bossy and guys like that played on these teams, and really they became part of the lore of sports, professional sports. If you grew up in anywhere in the Northeast, you knew about who these guys were. Even if you weren't a big hockey fan, you knew about the Islanders. You knew about the Rangers. You knew about the Edmonton Oilers. Think about that. Here it is. You're in America, young African-American guy, and you know about Wayne Gretzky and the Edmonton Oilers because they played really, to me, such a magnificent brand of hockey, up and down, fast paced. And of course, when you have the great one, Wayne Gretzky, breaking records every year, scoring over 100 goals multiple times, having over 200 points in a season. And what that means to you guys who are not hockey aficionados, you get a point for scoring a goal. You also get a point if you assist on a goal. And so Wayne Gretzky was doing things that nobody ever done in their life. So, great stuff there as we grew up watching a lot of hockey. I know some people listen now say, I don't care nothing about any hockey. But I told one of our viewers that we would talk a little bit about hockey, and hopefully we'll get more people on with us that enjoy hockey, and hopefully we'll get a hockey expert to join us as well. Well, speaking of expert, in just a few minutes, we're going to bring on a guy that's an expert when we're talking Georgia Tech sports, but especially Georgia Tech football. He's been covering the Jackets for years and years. Rob McKenzie is going to be joining us in just a second to talk about Georgia Tech. We were on a Zoom call earlier today, and I just want to get his feeling and his feedback on how the Jackets, what he thinks the flavor is, the mood of the Yellow Jackets. They themselves now, like many other teams in high school football and now in college football, prepare to play their first post-pandemic, but their first during the pandemic football game, and what his thoughts are about how the Jackets might do during the season and how they might fare in this type of unique and very, very different circumstance that we have going on right now. All right, guys, again, you're watching the Real Talk Sports Show as we broadcast to you on multiple platforms. WIGO 1570 if you're the Audible type person, also online at WIGOM.com. They are still pressing through to be Atlanta's Incredible Radio. Also, you can catch us on the free TuneIn Radio app if you're listening. It's a free app. Put in WIGO 1570, the search engine, and voila, you'll find us broadcasting to you right here and right now. And also, as I mentioned, you can find us on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and again, big shout out to those of you who are watching us on Periscope. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick tiny little break, and then we'll be back with more of the Real Talk Sports Show and our special guest talking Georgia Tech football, Mr. Rod McKenzie. Keep it locked.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
All right, everybody, we are back here. You're in what I like to call, well, I did call because I don't think I can call that anymore because we are free, but I'm still going to refer to us as you are now here in the lockdown living room, baby. I'm your host, Mr. Jonathan Simmons. We broadcast to you from Clayton County, just 20 miles southeast of downtown Atlanta, the conundrum of sports in the South. And one of the things that I used to always enjoy about covering sports here in Metro Atlanta was the Thursday night game at Bobby Dodd Stadium, where literally the backdrop of Midtown Atlanta was in the skyline. To me, it was must-see TV. That's why ESPN, no matter what Georgia Tech's record was, would always have that game because of the iconic view from that stadium. Well, speaking of iconic view, a guy who has seen it many, many times himself, covers the Yellow Jackets each and every year, Mr. Rod McKenzie is back in the building. Rod, thanks for joining us, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. It's good to be with you.
Hey, Rob, man, listen, though, so talk to us a little bit about, we watched earlier today the Zoom broadcast, head coach from Georgia Tech, Jeff Collins. As usual, guy was upbeat, seemed pumped. What was your overall feel from that press conference as far as the Jackets being ready to play against Florida State coming right out of the chute?
Yeah, Jeff is known as a guy that plans everything down to the nth degree, and I think it's pretty obvious from being with him, each week on these Zoom calls that we've been on, and he plans everything out. The final scrimmage, he put them in a game situation, played music. They had the lights on at the stadium, tested the sound. I mean, they did everything they could possibly do. He managed the COVID, himself, took care of everything, all the minute details. They've come through it safely. they're ready to play some football, and the players seem to be very upbeat.
Now, you talked about managing things and all the COVID preparation. He talked about the fact that they really he's been really very impressed in terms of how Georgia Tech as a whole has really handled that. What have you seen from the press level, as far as how they've been able to implement these COVID protocols?
Yeah, I think the one thing that he mentioned today, which is another step in how they're approaching all this, normally when they go to the hotel before the game, they pair the players up two to a room. They get together in the rooms, each position, do everything together that way, have team meals before the game together. That's not going to happen this year. Each guy's going to have his own room. They're going to go to the stadium in 3 different groups. He doesn't want everyone piling into the locker room at the same time on top of each other. So,
Okay.
They'll have like 3 bus loads of players, and they'll send a group, with each bus, spaced out time-wise. And instead of, getting together for that team meal, a lot of players will be going up to their rooms and eating their pregame meal by themselves up in the room, So it's going to be a drastic change from what they're used to, but they've already practiced and gone through this and made the players aware of how everything is going to go down when they get to Tallahassee.
And speaking of that, what do you think the feeling is, or what have you felt with the team? I don't want to say being forced, but basically having to play their first game on the road versus the comforts of playing, of course, at Bobby Dodd Stadium in their backyard. Yeah,
I think Coach Dave Patino addressed that, and especially with the young quarterback room. And fortunately for Georgia Tech, going on the road to Florida State, that would be a big deal. But now with all the restrictions, and I think Florida State's going to 25% capacity. So instead of having that huge crowd trying to break the huddle and trying to hear the signals and have the center calling out all the different assignments on the line, it's not going to be as difficult now. And I think it's put them in a position where they've been able to make a decision maybe to start a younger quarterback and not have to worry as much that he would have to deal with all that crowd noise.
Now, I heard him talk earlier about the younger quarterbacks. And looking at this group that they have, which guy has stood out in your mind as far as being a guy that we could see long-term in the starter position?
Well, it's been a transition from spring to the preseason. I left spring thinking that nobody really stepped up to take the job away from James Graham. But since then, you've had a couple of freshmen that have really, made some noise there. And the name that we're hearing right now is Jeff Sims. And if he were to start down there in Tallahassee, that would be sort of ironic, because at one time he was committed to Florida State before they made the coaching change. And then he switched his commitment to Georgia Tech. So I think they love his talent. They love his ability to throw the ball the way the ball comes out of his hands. They say he's really a kid that's, they call him, he's football wise. He's really picked up the playbook, and he takes the teaching well, and he doesn't make the same mistakes twice. And I think that can be said with the other quarterbacks too. But there's a reason why he was ranked as high as he was. He's a talented kid. So I'm anxious to see what's going to happen there. And of course, the announcement was made that you'll find out who the starting quarterback is at 3:30 on Saturday.
Wow. Okay. Well, at the end of the day, we know what we saw with Trevor Lawrence and other guys. We have seen freshmen come in and be able to acquit themselves extremely well in these high pressure situations. So it would be something to see. And especially these guys have got to think going into Florida State, where I think you mentioned, or someone else mentioned to Coach Collins, and he kind of played it off, that everyone's ranking Georgia Tech to finish in many cases dead last in the division. When they talk about a young man that already been recruited from Florida State, I'm sure that the Tech Nation has got a lot of energy and a lot of chips on their shoulder going into this game.
Without a doubt. And I think they're not going to come out and say, hey, yeah, we've been talking about that all the time. That's just not, how things work there. But I guarantee you they saw that when it came out, and they want to show everybody that they're wrong about that. And the thing with the young quarterback, if let's say he goes into the game and has a little bit of a rough start, they can take him out for a couple of series, calm him down a little bit, and you have somebody to go in the game. It's like for instance, James Graham that's capable of taking over the offense. So the goal is to play the same quarterback the whole game. They've made their decision on who that's going to be, and I'm anxious to see how that works out.
Well, everybody, when I think about Graham, everybody would look at him as maybe being a more polished thrower of the ball. But basically what you're telling me, this freshman has that it factor as far as the ball coming out of his hands with maybe a little bit more zip. Is he an athletic type of quarterback? I mean, we look at him as a dual threat.
Yeah, the other thing that Pat had mentioned, he said he's not going to put a quarterback back there that can't run the ball, because that's
Right.
The run is a big part of their offense, with the RPOs and so forth. So I think he's satisfied that he's capable of being that guy. He's got the size at 6'3", and he had the advantage of coming in early, getting into the off-season conditioning program, and putting on some weight, putting on some strength, and I think that really helped his case to get to where he is right now as a possibility for the starting quarterback on Saturday.
Speaking of weight, I mean, have you seen one of the things that everybody talked about watching Georgia Tech football over in the Paul Johnson years is that when they would play teams like Clemson, when they would play teams like a Florida State, but especially Clemson, when they were making this run that they have over the last few years of being, national champion contenders every year, people said that basically Georgia Tech didn't have the size. When they looked at Clemson looked like, hey, basically this is a step below an NFL team, whereas in some cases Georgia Tech looked like they're, basically almost like an FCS type school. Have you seen a market change in the size in a general fashion, especially in the O and D line?
Yeah, the goal was for each player to put on at least 10 pounds. You look at the offensive line now, everyone's above 300.
Right.
On the right side of the line, you have two guys that are, bordering on 6'6", Ryan Johnson and the freshman Jordan Williams. The left tackle, Zach Quinney's 6'6". Their guards are big, which they've never had big guards before, and so now, it's going to be a different story. They're not going to get pushed around, and they're before the opposing teams were caving in the center
Right.
of the Georgia Tech offensive line. They didn't have to go around the ends to get to the quarterback. They just had to go up the middle, and we're hearing that things are a lot different. That coaches are saying it's like night and day from last year to this year, and we'll find out when they get on the field, because Florida State's an attacking defense. They have an All-American at defensive tackle. They like to blitz, so there's going to be a lot of opportunities for the offensive line to show what they're really about. And this is definitely not an easy way to start out the season from their point of view.
Yeah, I think that, Coach Collins talked about, again, his preparation, that it was all about that. It was about, kind of getting the team a certain sensibility about how they go about their business and really having them ready and prepared. And you talked about him being so scripted. How important is that for a head coach when they're making this transition and having a team like this in the first game to have everything kind of laid out?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that they tried to accomplish last year, they knew that they weren't going to have a big season because of the transition, but one of the most important things they tried to do was to get the players to buy into the culture. That was one of the reasons they used the above the line concept, where a lot of guys got a chance to play. It made practices livelier because there was competition every single day. And that's carried over to this year, and they don't have to worry about that anymore. All the teaching that was involved last year is still going on, but it's not as big a part of what they're doing. They're able to play ball now, and I think they've gone about it the right way. It's just a matter of being patient for all this to come about, and all this will go hand in hand with their continued good recruiting.
Yeah, that's something I'm going to ask you about. How big of a transition have you seen from them primarily having 3, and in some cases 2-star athletes, to what apparently picking up more 4-star athletes?
Yeah,
in some cases 5.
Yeah, the last year's recruiting class was the second best recruiting class in Georgia Tech history. And we talk about history, we're talking about, back when they first started, handing out those stars that everybody talks about. And of course, the number 1 class was back in 2007 when Jeff was also an employee at Georgia Tech in a little lesser role than what he's in now. This year they have 19 commits. They're recruiting a lot bigger offensive linemen. When you pick up a kid like Jahmyr Gibbs at running back, that's a program changer. They've really done a great job at the wide receiver and slot position. So they got things in place to really make a big jump on both sides of the ball once these kids get some experience and, get into their, junior and senior years. I think you're going to see a completely different Georgia Tech team.
Well, no doubt. I think that's what Tech fans are waiting for. And that's one of the reasons why I think everybody said, hey, we got to bite the bullet and move on from Coach Johnson. One thing that I told people was, okay, I understand that you don't like his style of play, but if you went to any alumni when he first got hired and you said, okay, over his decade reign, that we would have 3 Orange Bowl appearances, we would win 1. He would win 4 games in the season against SEC competition, including a bowl game, that they would actually have the team at one point knocking on the door of getting into the college football playoffs. I think a lot of people say we go for that. I just think that Coach Johnson was, no disrespect to him, man, but he was so prickly in terms of his personality that it just, made people not really want to root for him. And the other thing, too, is there were times where that offense just would bog down, when they face quality teams that have the athletes to recover from mistakes that you naturally make against playing against a wishbone type team.
Yeah, without a doubt. They had recruiting classes ranked in the 40s and the 50s, and there they were, playing in bowl games, going, like you said, going to the Orange Bowl. To the person that wasn't around Paul a lot, you made an apt description, but the players really liked him. They played hard for him, and his offense made up for a lot of those recruiting deficiencies, except when they came to play teams like Clemson, where they were physically outmanned, and that's when you saw the difference come into play. And but hey, there was some good years when Paul Johnson was here, and now the fans are hoping that the same is going to be true as we roll on with Coach Jeff Collins.
Well, yeah, I point out to people, I mean, you have to keep in mind, this was a team that I think it was in 2000, I want to say 14 or 15, had gotten as high as one point as 6th in the nation in the college football ranking. It had not been an ill-timed and basically season-destroying loss to North Carolina. This was a team that had a very, very good shot to get to that college football playoffs. And no, the thing about Georgia Tech reminded me, Rod, of one of those teams that you would, like a boxer that had awkward boxing style, that nobody wanted to fight him because that guy had a strong chin, and they always kind of fought you in a way that if you made any kind of mistakes, you could find yourself being knocked out. And that's the way it seemed to me when teams wanted to play Georgia Tech, even the University of Georgia. I mean, Georgia never really liked playing Georgia Tech because they knew that these guys could mess around and beat us. And matter of fact, to Coach Johnson's credit, he was able to beat Georgia, I think, 3 times, including, I think, all 3 times in Athens.
Yeah, all 3 times in Athens. Great games, exciting games for the fans. And like you said, the offense he ran, all it took was a mistake or 2 by the defense, and next thing you know, they're chasing the running back down the field. They're chasing the A-back that snuck behind the secondary, that type of thing. And say what you want, that was a big play offense. And he was willing to gamble, 4th down type situations. The players knew that, and they loved him for doing that. And Now a different offense. I think once they have a chance to open up the playbook, as the offensive line improves, that I think the fan base will start to feel the same way about this offense.
Oh, no question. And we saw a glimpse of what a dual threat quarterback can mean. We know that that's pretty much de rigueur now in college football, and pretty soon I think it's going to be coming to pro football as well. But we saw what happened when they had a quarterback that was able to be mobile, move around the pocket, and make some big plays. And based on what you're telling me, when the offensive line is bigger, and certainly I want to talk to you a little bit also about the defense, that this Georgia Tech team, again, could shock some people and make some noise this year.
Yeah, they're in the past, once you got past the starting quarterback at Georgia Tech, you were in a little bit of trouble. Not much depth. Now the last class they recruited 2 highly talented quarterbacks that fit their style. Last year they had to go with guys that were left over from the other offense, and to James Graham's credit, he hung in there,
Right.
and in spite of everything that was going on around him, he didn't have much support around him. So, it's a different situation now, and year 2 of the transition, and I think we may see the Jackets sneak up on some people this year.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's going to be a real interesting year. Again, you have this pandemic. As much as everybody and every coach talks about preparation and getting their team ready, nobody really knows what they got until these guys hit the field. And I think that a guy like Jeff Collins, with his energy, being a Tech guy before, having some experience taking underdog programs like he did, I think, at Temple, and to be able to get them into the mix, he really kind of is the perfect guy at the right time. And also they have a great chaplain, great motivational speaker there. We just referred to him from his radio and TV show, Demo Speaks, but he brings a lot of energy. Of course, their strength coach and some of that whole coaching staff they have there, they're young guys or young at heart. And it seems like they really have got the pulse of this team, even with, Coach Collins rocking the 404 gear and talking about the playlist. It just seems like they really want and understand the younger crew that's coming through the colleges today.
Yeah, I think if you look at that game last night, Brigham Young and Navy, I think you saw that maybe one of those teams really wasn't prepared for what they were going to face with that environment. I think Georgia Tech is going to be one of those teams that will be prepared for the environment they're about to go into. And the players know what it's going to be all about. And I think that may be another advantage for Georgia Tech, and kudos for the coaching staff for getting them prepared to enter into that type of an environment.
Well, no doubt, man. I think it's going to be off the chain. And again, I look forward to getting back to be able to cover Tech football. I really, really am excited about the idea of just covering sports again. It's always going to be different. I think that because of all the things that happen in our country, it's never going to quite be the same. But again, we look forward to Georgia Tech and all the teams that we cover here in Metro Atlanta and get back out there. Now, speaking of that, what's your protocol for the press? Where are you going to be? Are you in the press box as normal, or where do they have you situated at this point?
Yeah, they've made quite a few changes to the protocol for home games. We have to apply for credentials for each game. They're limiting the number of media in the press box, so we'll be socially distanced also. Have to wear a mask. They'll check our temperature before we go into the stadium. All the health protocols, that's what they're going to be all about. And it's going to be a little different not seeing some friends that you're used to seeing up there in the press box, but I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to be like in that first game and how it all goes down. And the main thing for me is I'm going to be able to see some football, and I've been waiting a while for that to come about. And there was some times there where I know you and I didn't think it was going to happen, but hey, right. We're within a week now, so hey, knock on wood, everything's cool.
No question, man. We're right in the middle of it, and we're very thankful to be so. And certainly now, when you mentioned not seeing some people, I would be remiss not to, once again, offer condolences, even though it's been a while now, to the family. William Peace, a longtime veteran of sports here in Atlanta, and certainly covered Georgia Tech. I know I enjoyed the times I spent with you and he in the press box. Such a really, his name, every now and then you meet somebody whose name fits them, and that his name fit him because he was just a peaceful man, a gentle giant. And so he will certainly be missed this season as well.
Without a doubt. And he was always, when I like to get into the press box early and take everything in and see what's going on. And, William was always that guy that was always there. He was always the first guy I would get to talk to.
Right.
We would joke around and mess with each other. I would make fun of this and that about him, and he would do the same about me. And, that was something you always look forward to.
Yep. Always had a kind word, like I said, again, one of the few people that you meet whose name fit his personality, and he certainly will be missed. Always encouraged me, which is great because, as you know, I kind of was relatively new. I can't believe I've been doing sports coverage now for over a decade, but I was relatively new when I first came to Georgia Tech, and he accepted me with open arms, as you did as well. Guys that I was coming through, not really knowing much about the program, just really thankful. And to this day, I'm very appreciative because Georgia Tech was the first major Division I school to give me a media credential. So I always be grateful for them for that. And like I say, grateful to William Peace and guys like yourself, who accepted the old preacher coming in to try to do a little sports.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get to do that a lot this year too. That'll be great.
Well, certainly one of the things I said, that's why I wanted to make sure to invite you on to our broadcast, because first of all, it's a lot easier. People can now see you. If you remember, we should try to do this before on the radio, and like all they saw was like they could hear you talking, but they could never see anything. So I'm thankful that that's the one good thing this pandemic has brought, this whole new system of allowing people to actually see our guests and for them to be able to interact with our guests in real time. Well, listen, man, I know your schedule is busy, so tell people how, in fact, they can find out more about you. I know you got a great blog. You're on social media, so how can people follow you and keep up what's happening with the Yellow Jackets?
Yeah, you can find us at gojackets.com. We're part of the 247 Sports Network, the #1 recruiting network in the nation. And we have daily reports, interviews, you name it. If you want to know something about Georgia Tech athletics, we have it for you. We do a podcast every Sunday night, about a half-hour podcast. And, we're enthusiastic about what we do. And, if you want to talk Georgia Tech sports, come and join us at gojackets.com.
There it is, guys. The one and only Rod McKenzie from gojackets.com in the building, always keeping it on the 100 and giving you the inside of what's going on at Georgia Tech athletics. Well, listen, Rod, until next time, man, we appreciate it so much. Stay safe out there. God bless you, man. We appreciate you.
You too. Take care now. Bye-bye.
That was Rod McKenzie from gojackets.com. Again, you guys follow him, check him out. Gojackets.com is part of 24/7 Sports Nation. So, again, if you want to find out what's going on with the Yellow Jackets, please check him out. I want to show you again where we're at. We're in the lockdown living room here, located just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. You're watching and listening to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, the Minister Jonathan Simmons. Yes, to answer that question, I am, in fact, the real live minister. I did not get my license from a mail order box. I am actually a licensed preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ, Mighty Yahashua HaMashiach. And we try to bring a little bit of that sensibility to you on the program. We don't believe that we operate in a vacuum. I do believe that there's a spiritual side and component to everything, including the world of sports. And so when we come on, we're going to try to bring in the good news of sports. I know there's a lot of bad stuff happening, but we want to bring on folks that are going to try to encourage you and give you the positive about what's happening out there, because we have a lot of former athletes and current athletes that are doing really good stuff, but they get overshadowed by oftentimes the bad stuff that we hear about. So, keep it locked right here to the Real Talk Sports Show, which you're watching. We appreciate those of you who are watching us here on Periscope. Love the hearts that flutter up there to let us know that you are enjoying the program. I appreciate all those of you who share the broadcast on all kind of different platforms, Facebook Live, on different people's pages, on your own personal page. We appreciate you so much. And of course, to those people who are listening on WIGO AM 1570, Atlanta's Incredible Radio. Hey, I want to do this, folks. One of the things that we are committed to do, as you know, is cover high school football. I'm going to ask you, if you have a business, if you like youth sports, high school sports, you want to support the South Side, because we're down here in the South Side, what we call the Southern Crescent. If you'd like to do that, I'm going to ask you, please, ma'am and sir, join our gold level sponsor for high school football. Allen Vigil, Ford, and Lincoln. Join us and become a sponsor or even we have different level-ships. We can be a sponsor or partner of the broadcast. We are committed to continue to not only bring you good news, but cover high school football. One of the things that we're starting now, we have a Monday night show. We're going to do a high school football recap, and we're going to pick out every single game that we cover, which is at Tara Stadium. We cover all the games at Tara Stadium on Friday night. We do a live video of that game, and we're going to have a player of the game. We need a sponsor for offensive player of the game, defensive player of the game. We want to give the kids something, a gift certificate, something nice. So if you want to support, please, man, please, sir, check us out. Hit me up. I'm going to go ahead and put my social media contacts up here. You can contact me personally or follow me on social media at Minister J Sim. You can see it right there on the, let me get my hand in there. There it is. It's right there at Minister J Sim, or you can follow the show at Real Talk Sports 7. Again, if you want to be a supporter of the show, if you want to be a sponsor of, we got different levels of high school football sponsorship. We got the show. We can run advertisements. I'll give you sponsor mentions. You also have a brand new thing that we're doing now, which is player of the game for each game that we do for Clayton County High School sports. And we need sponsors like you who want to support high school football, want to support the good news in sports, to come on and join us. Let me pop my number up on the screen. I got to find it here and all this stuff here, but I'll just read it for you here. My number is 678-410-9833. Love to have you join us. We got packages that start as little as $25. That's right. As little as $25, you can be one of our supporters of this broadcast and get mentioned here on Real Talk Sports as someone who is supporting good stuff. So again, there's my number right there. Give me a call, 678-410-9833. I'll give you all the lowdown. Like I said, again, I have packages, or I should say I have sponsor opportunity, the partner opportunity that start for as little as $25. Now, y'all know $25, you spend that on Starbucks. You spend that on going out to eat, getting food. So you can go and show us some love. And again, we'll show you some love. We'll go ahead, man, put you out here. One of the other things that we do here is that we can brand you as part of our branding on our program. Like I mentioned, Allen Vigil Ford is our premier sponsor. So during the games, the high school football games, bam, you see the Allen Vigil logo. Where's my finger? You see the Allen Vigil logo right there at the top of every game. You'll see that. So the Allen Vigil logo will be there, and that could be your logo. We have space that we could pop you up in there. And then the other thing, too, is that Mr. Vigil, due to his sponsorship at that level, also gets the fact that during the game, we run this ticker on the bottom. It says Clayton County High School Football presented by Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln. That could be you and your business getting some mad love. Just to let you know that last week's telecast, our combined viewership for the telecast have now climbed to over 3,000 people have viewed that game, either some or all of it. And so that message is going to go out to all these people. It's on our YouTube page right now. So it stays up there, a video on demand. We have a website that we also can put your information in as a partner or sponsor. So please come on and help us out. We're going to put it out there. We love to have you do it. All right. Well, we got to do this. As I mentioned, we're on WIGO 1570. Bam, our producer, Carl Eli Smith, has said we got 1 minute. So we have to wrap it up. For all those of you who are listening to us on WIGO, we are going to stay on the air for those of you who are watching the show. But for those of you listening on WIGO, please keep us in your prayers. We're going to keep praying for you. If you don't know Jesus Christ, your personal Savior, please, man, please, sir, get to know him today, because nobody loves you like Yeshua HaMashiach. That's Jesus Christ. Nobody. You need to get to know him today. God bless you and have a great day. So long. Remember, every day, Monday through Friday, tune in to Carl Eli Smith as he does a great gospel show, one of the best gospel DJs in the country. You can check him out 9 a.m. to 12 noon on the Eli Smith Show, with the exception of Wednesday. And he gives you all the best hits in gospel music, from old school to new school, contemporary. He does it all. All right, everybody, on WIGO, God bless you and good night. For everybody on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and Periscope, don't go nowhere, because Deshaun Tate, our basketball savant, is going to be joining us in just a minute. But in order to hear what's happening in the NBA bubble, you got to keep it locked right here. We'll be back.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
Oh, there's my man JB Smooth. As I mentioned to you, that's another spot where we can drop a commercial. See, we do these breaks here to show you how we can put your commercial in on our live broadcast. And so think about how cool this is. Like we have during breaks during the high school football, bam, we can drop your commercial in. You can be an insurance company. You might be a heating and air conditioning group. You might be a lawyer, doctor. You have a doctor's office, you're a dentist. You know kids need to get their teeth fixed. Well, here's how you can do it. Come on and support the Real Talk Sports Show. Again, like I mentioned to you, give me a call. Please, ma'am, and please, sir, let me get my number up here one more time. Our telephone number is 678-410-9833. Give me a call. I'll let you know. You can be a partner with our show for the minuscule sum of just $25. Come on now. All right, well, let's do this. We've been waiting to talk to this guy. He's been man on the move. He's in high demand, but he has taken time out to join us to tell you what's going on in the NBA bubble. He's a basketball savant. He's been a contributor to 92.9 The Game and multiple TV sports shows around the country, including in his hometown of Detroit, Michigan. The one and only Deshaun Tate is back in the building. What's up?
What's up, Rev? I appreciate you for having me on. Sorry I couldn't be on a little bit earlier. You said a guy in high demand. I'm not sure that I'd be willing to go that far, but I am thankful to be on with you finally.
Well, man, at the end of the day, bro, I mean, people are at you. I mean, of course, we'll let you talk about this later. You got podcasts going on. You got your own Facebook Live video show now. I mean, so you got a lot of things on and popping. And of course, the reason why it's really on and popping because it's basketball playoff time in the bubble. All right, man. Now, before you came on, I've been telling people, I've been trying my best to try to get into it, but being an old school guy, the hype that we normally bring as the media and the press is just not there. But some great basketball being played. Tell us about these epic series that have been going on and why suddenly a guy who's the MVP and Player of the Year, Giannis from Milwaukee Bucks, have been getting mad shade on social media.
Yeah, it's just the bubble in general and everything going on within the NBA has just obviously been really exciting. You know me, what I was looking forward to probably more than anything was March Madness. I didn't get that opportunity, but I'm getting a little bit of like September Madness now. A lot of these games have really been coming down to, if not game sevens, then one possession games and 2.3 point games and buzzer beaters and free throw lines to finish games and so forth. And just the series have been really dynamic. It's been a lot of fun. I know everybody's kind of looking forward to the football thing and all that kind of stuff coming up, but basketball has really, really been good. No positive testing as far as COVID. Thank God on that one. That's always, a blessing within itself. But overall, I just think that it's really been a huge, huge success with everything that the NBA has done within the bubble itself. And just trying to keep everything positive, trying to keep everyone safe. And it's still been really, really competitive and neutral site games. This isn't any of the wacky, home court advantage stuff going on. There is none of that. And I think that that's what makes it for really entertaining and really intriguing basketball overall. Now, in terms of Giannis, what's happening with Giannis and with Milwaukee is something that I think a lot of people, myself included, are really kind of afraid of, which is to take that gamble on Milwaukee. I asked some people at the beginning of the year, and even more so the closer we got to the playoffs, do you take Milwaukee or do you take the field? And most of the people were smart enough to probably say the field at that point. And so seeing them kind of struggle the way that they have with Miami, I think right now is really, really close game. It's one of those things where if they found a way to come back and win this particular game, that's something that I've seen crazier things in life in 2020. You want to surprise me, you want to impress me, win this whole series without Giannis Antetokounmpo or the whole thing, and then we can have those conversations.
But let me tell you something. That would be some kind of insanity if the Bucks would pull that off. I mean, without a guy who was an MVP player, whether you say that he folded or didn't give you that type of play in postseason and kind of irrelevant. But it is, and the other thing too is now there's also shade being thrown towards Coach Bud, which you see, this is what happens when people don't do their homework. And when people don't do their history, people look at Coach Bud and say, oh, well, you know what? He did the same thing with the Hawks. One of these regular season games, got their playoffs and folded. Well, the people like us who were there on the ground when this happened, they know the backstory that a guy who was specifically brought to the Hawks in a wonderful general manager move, that because he was a LeBron James stopper, Thabo Sefolosha, had his leg broken by the New York police, which I think was kind of almost the beginning of this whole police brutality and being connected with sports. That was a game changer because not only did you have a guy that was designed to stop and had effectively shown he could defend the best player in the league, but also a guy that was a clutch three-point shooter, a guy that had a bit of a fearlessness, had played for other great teams like OKC. He's gone. And then, of course, the other injuries, Kyle Korver, top three-point shooter, banged up. DeMar Carroll, your kind of junkyard dog, banged up. So you had a team that was really half the team by the time they got to play the buzzsaw, which at that time was the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, first of all, speaking of OKC, breaking news, you heard it here first, I guess, with Real Talk Sports, is that head coach and Billy Donovan and OKC have decided to kind of part ways. So he will no longer be the head coach of OKC anymore.
Wow. And that was coming, though. It was coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that we're that far from seeing Houston Rockets head coach and Mike D'Antoni happening to him as well in the event that he doesn't, advance and get past the Lakers, which is not easy to do with LeBron James. But I'll say this much. I respectfully disagree in some cases with you as we're talking about Coach Bud and the Atlanta Hawks. And I mean, that it's that same system. And I think that it's the same mentality. And that's where you have problems if you're Coach Bud with the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't think that either team is really that physical of a team. Now, there was injuries. There were guys that were banged up and guys that went down and so forth. Were they going to beat Cleveland with a healthy team? Absolutely not. Could they have made it a little bit more competitive? Sure. Would they have still gotten swept? But will they have gotten swept? I still like to think. But I like to think that answer is yes. But to win But whether we're talking about winning one game or whether we're talking about winning 0 games, at the end of the day, they weren't going to win that series. Outside of that fact, the reality is that was a really good team. I think that, the Hawks didn't have anything to hang their heads on in regards to that particular run that they had that year, being the best team by record in the NBA at that time. However, when you sit and look at this Milwaukee team, it is reminiscent of what it looks like just with the optics of that Hawks team. That is a Mike Budenholzer coach team. You don't really see that physicality. Could it have been a little bit better? Sure. How much better? I don't think very much.
Okay, now you talk about physicality. Now, is that a Coach Bud problem, or is that a player personnel problem? Because when I look at, if I go back and look at the Hawks, I mean, who really on that team could have been a physical player? And again, I go back to the same thing. The guy, unfortunately, playing not a position to associate with physicality, but your most physical player basically was pretty much playing on one leg, and DeMar Carroll. That's what I meant. That was your kind of junkyard dog. And again, with no Thabo Sefolosha at all. Another guy that, again, was he a bruiser? He wasn't, but he was good for, if he got his minutes, 5-6 rebounds a game and some hardcore defense.
Sure.
So you say it to me, oh, hey, they had a puncher's chance to win that series because they had home court advantage. Anytime they have home court advantage, I know we were talking about a LeBron James team, but I really do believe, even if they had won game 1 or game 2, if they had split the series at home, could they have won the series banged up? No, but I think they could have certainly taken Cleveland to at least a 6th game or possibly a 7th game.
Yeah, I'm not willing to go that far by any stretch of the imagination. You might have to pass the blessing oil over here this way, Rev, when you say that. But what I will say, though, while I still respectfully disagree, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I believe that the mentality does start within when you start talking about being a physical individuals. However, when you start talking about having a physical team overall, I think that is where you have to put the guys that don't have that mindset in the mindset that that's what it's going to take in order to beat that kind of a team in Cleveland. And that's something that he had control of and something that I believe that he could have done. And it's not a bad team. They were still a team. They are what you look at when you start talking about a team. They played team basketball. They played well within each other. They had really good chemistry. That's something that you also see with this Milwaukee team. And it's not based on just one guy. You see what Milwaukee is doing without Giannis. However, yet still, they are not the more physical team, and that's something that you have to be, whether you're playing the Miami Heat, whether you're playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, whether you're playing the bad boy Pistons, whether you're playing the Jailblazers from back in the day. At the end of the day, that's something that you have to have, and his team is something that they typically are not.
All right, well, there it is. I mean, the savant, given Coach Bud may not be up to the task. All right, Coach, I tried to
good regular
Coach Bud,
season coach, though, Rev. A great regular season coach. A great regular season coach.
Wow. Yeah. And can I tell you something? That's like almost like, what do you call it? A left-handed compliment. He's good in regular season, but
no, not at all. You know what? You know what the young kids are calling that nowadays. While you call it left-hand compliment,
what they call that?
Facts.
Wow. Oh, we're gonna do it like that?
Well, no, I mean that's just.
I thought you gonna come at me like that for real.
No, not at you. Just that's just what the young kids are calling it. We learn something new every day. You learn something. I learned stuff. You taught me a lot, so I learned something new on a regular basis. But that's just what the new kids are calling it. They're calling it facts, and that's something that's a fact. And even if in the event, Rev, that is not a fact, guess what?
What?
He's not shown otherwise.
Listen. I guess what I'd like to see, and don't get me wrong, it's not like Giannis was lighting the world on fire before he got injured. So I want to make it seem like this guy was, 30 points and 15, rebounds every game, 8 block shots, and the guy's hurt, and that throwing the whole thing off. I mean, they played poorly, and so that's what unfortunately has begun the whispers. And listen, I kind of like that team, I guess, but you could see the cracks even in the first series that they played before they got to Cleveland, that they really, a team they should have blown. They were playing the Nets, a team they should have really blown out, and they let them stay around. So I get it, man. I mean, and look, remember, this goes on in every sport that people get that moniker, hey, they straight in the regular season, but when postseason come, they something be happening. And you can call whatever you want, choke up, nut up, whatever it is, but something happen, them lights come on, they get gone. And so
that happens though. I mean, that happens though, Rev. That's natural. And that's where you start drawing the line and are able to tell the boys from the men. And some guys are good players, but they're just really good practice players to help prepare the players that are going to see the floor for their challenges. And they're just as big of a part of a championship team pedigree, an organization as anybody else is. I'm sure that those championships that the Golden State Warriors have won, and Cleveland, and all of these other teams, you take it to football, you start talking about Alabamas and Clemson's and all these teams, they are big pieces of the team that have to help prepare. So while we're sitting here and talking about this Milwaukee team, my biggest question is probably, what is your biggest takeaway from Miami this season, regular season and playoffs included? And one of the biggest difference makers that I've seen within the playoffs behind why Milwaukee has been unsuccessful has been a combination of 3 things. One of them is poor free throw shooting, outside of the physicality stuff that I mentioned. The other one is poor perimeter shooting from offense. You have a Kyle Korver, speaking of that Hawks team. You have a Ersan Ilyasova, who is a darn good veteran leader, as well as Korver is, who also was an Atlanta Hawk. from the perimeter as well. Dante DiVincenzo, who won a national championship and comes from a national championship pedigree at Villanova, and everybody was talking about him potentially being the biggest steal of this draft. He hadn't been showing up nearly as much until the course of the last 2 games. And then you have a Pat Connaughton, who everybody loves and raves and gives him credit for his athleticism, but not nearly as much about his offense. You take those 4 guys between Korver, DiVincenzo, Ilyasova, and I forget the other one, Connaughton, and they haven't been nearly as big as they needed to be until there was no Giannis. Last but certainly not least is the simple fact that this is a team that is very good defensively. They're the best team defensively throughout the course of the regular season, leading up to the bubble and the NBA resumption, but even more so in transition. But like you know, Rev, the same way I know, when it comes to playoff basketball, everything starts to slow down. More half-court sets. There isn't nearly as much transition. Giannis is extremely, extremely dangerous when he gets you backpedaling and start putting you on your heels. That's not what playoff basketball is about. And I think that that's also something that Coach Bud gets paid all the big money for, to make adjustments for this team.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I got to give, credit where credit due. That is a fact right there that you did mention. That I think is probably more of a problem with Coach Bud more than anything else. I don't know if the guy chokes up. I don't want to say that, but there's no question that for whatever reason, he is not a good coach in a half-court style set, which, as you mentioned, is playoff basketball at its finest. You have to be able to find a way to get the ball to your key scorers when in the right spot at the right time. And unfortunately, when you start talking about three-point shooters like Kyle Korver, guys like that, they have to come off picks, they have to come off screens, and you don't have as much space when you clamp down at half court for that movement to be effective. Now, I tell you a team that you want to watch, well, not want to watch, I mean, if you want to go to Google, but if you check out like the old Lakers, the old Celtics, that's what they were very good at, being able to move consistently, especially the Celtics, in a half-court offense. So that's really the big thing. Well, speaking of half-court offense, man, I mean, go ahead.
I just had a quick question for you, Rev.
Sure.
This year in the Coach of the Year award, the finalists were Nick Nurse, who got the award, Mike Budenholzer, who is a 2-time award winner of the award, and the guy who we were just talking about, Billy Donovan, who no longer is the coach at OKC. Arguably, seeing what they have been doing and only lost 1 game throughout the playoffs, Eric Spoelstra probably should have and or could have been in that conversation. My question to you is that if you were building a team for the regular season and for the playoffs, and it was between Eric Spoelstra, who is a world champion, multi-time, yes, with LeBron and so forth, but you take him, or do you take Mike Budenholzer, and why?
Well, I mean, the bottom line is it's kind of the same sensibility that you have when the Falcons got down to, if you remember, they were looking for a head coach. They were looking at Rex Ryan versus Coach Dan Quinn. Now, even though Rex Ryan had been a head coach, and even though he had got the Jets in the middle of the Patriots run to the AFC Championship twice, he went with the fact that Dan Quinn was on a coaching staff that actually won the Super Bowl. And it actually been to the Super Bowl 2 times. So of anybody that's trying to build a team is going to default to the champion, because it really doesn't matter who the champion has in their team, because you go to any championship team, they have to have Hall of Fame players in order to get there. This idea that a coach is going to coach them up and they're going to win, that's true to some degree. But if a coach doesn't have Hall of Fame type players, at least one and sometimes multiple Hall of Fame players, I don't care how good that guy is. You can dig Ray Auerbach out of the grave. You can dig up Coach John Wooden, anybody you want. Coach K, none of these guys win titles unless they have that level of players. So to answer that question, you're going to have to pick Spoelstra from Miami because he's actually won a title.
But I'm talking about you're taking the resumes. Let's just take the resumes out of it. I'm just talking about the coaches from what – hold on. Let's just talk about the coaches. Like right now, okay? He is, which one would you rather have right now? It's arguable that Jimmy Butler is probably not locked in as a guaranteed Hall of Famer, but most people would think or say that Giannis is a Hall of Famer. Right. So Budenholzer has the Hall of Famer, and Eric Spoelstra doesn't, who would you be picking today?
I still go with the same thing. I got to go with the track record of the pedigree. Championships, there's something about you having won a championship that the experience means you know what it takes to win. You know what it takes. I can tell people, even in my business, all right, if I look at a high achiever, and I've had some opportunities to be a high achiever in my business and sales. All right, the realities are there's certain things that I know I have to do and be willing to do in order for me to get to my sales goals, to get to my goals of being, not only selling well, but to be good on my customer service scores, because that's now has been part of the huge equation. If I look at other guys around me who have been top performers, you're going to go with that guy because when push comes to shove, they might have a slump, they might have an off month or two, but at the end of the day, look at the end of the year, they put the numbers together because they know what it takes. They know the work required. They know how to get it done. And unfortunately, as much as I like Coach Bud, the facts, like you said, we talking facts now. You said, well, Minister, you backtracking. No, I'm not. I'm just saying the answer to the question, I got to take the Big E only because he's actually won.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah, that was a setup.
I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just checking your temperature, Rev.
Right. Here's what we're gonna do. Speaking of temperature, I got to do a little bit of high school football. I got to do that. So I want you to go ahead and tell people how they can find out more about you, your blog page, web page. And my family give you the whole screen so you can break it down and let people know.
Appreciate that, Rev. High school football. What's that? At Tate's Take Hoops on all social media platforms, TATESTAKEHOOPS, hashtag where basketball lives. We have a really awesome podcast going right now. We've had so many different guests, and it's just been outstanding all across the board, and looking forward to just kind of growing the brand a little bit more within itself. Tate's Take the podcast. I like to call it the best, the most entertaining, the most informational, and the most educational basketball content on the planet in the form of a podcast. And so, if it's anything basketball, we're talking at the collegiate level, the high school level, NBA playoffs, March Madness, state championships, wheelchair basketball, you name it. So I'm very really looking forward to these podcasts that I do. They are weekly podcasts. Anywhere you find your favorite podcast, also streaming on YouTube, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Red Circle, Stitcher, the whole nine. And last but not least, every night, Monday through Friday, that there is a NBA playoff game on. So similar, just like tonight, about roughly 15 to 20 minutes after the game, we always do a recap in which is entitled The Final Buzzer. So tonight, good buddy of mine, Danny Thompson, is going to be joining me, breaking down both of the games tonight, the doubleheader within itself. Again, Monday through Friday, 15 to 20 minutes after the games is where you can find it, everywhere that you find your favorite podcasts, and especially on Facebook and on streaming live on YouTube.
Basketball Savant breaking it down. Well, real quickly, got 1 minute. Your response, speaking of Thompson, the passing of legendary coach and TV commentator John Thompson.
You're trying to get some get back right now, Rev, trying to make me cry, man. John Thompson has been a huge pillar, in the world of college basketball and just basketball in general for the African American communities, even outside of African American communities. And
no doubt,
you don't get the kind of respect that he's gotten just by being big and tall and strong and has humongous hands and humongous size with a deep voice. He's produced some of the best players, especially centers, between Dikembe Mutombo and Allen Iverson, although he's not a center, but he played much like
Patrick Ewing.
Patrick Ewing is another one, Alonzo Mourning, and so many others, and so many people still learning from him today. So I actually, on my podcast, I actually brought on Scoop Jackson, who does so many different things for ESPN, former writer of Slam Magazine. And there was a feature that he did on Allen Iverson in in issue 9. And he talked about that on my podcast. So feel free to go back. You can find all that stuff. Tate's Take the podcast, anywhere you find your favorite podcast, and on YouTube. And he kind of broke that down and talked about it. And if you don't go check that out, then you're going to really miss a really awesome story. And if you need to smile and laugh for the day, that would be the way to go. So I just really miss Big John Thompson, the first African-American coach to win a national championship in 1984.
There you go. Deshaun Tate, basketball savant, all around good guy. We appreciate you, man. God bless you, and see you soon.
Thank you, Rev. Appreciate you for having me.
Yes, sir. That was Deshaun Tate. Like I say, he does Tate Takes Sports, Tate Takes Hoops. Great guy. And we look forward to every time he comes on the broadcast. Again, you're watching the final moments of the Real Talk Sports Show. We welcome you, those of you who are watching us on YouTube, those who are watching us on any platform. Look, before we wrap it up here, we want to talk a little high school football. It was our very first coverage of a full live high school football game. We did the video stream. We are going to be the official video stream providers of the games at Tara Stadium. It is now called Hines Ward Field at historic Tara Stadium. That's right, named after Hines Ward, the great Georgia Bulldog and Pittsburgh Steeler. He actually played in Clayton County at Forest Park High School, and the field's been named after him. They've now added in a wonderful scoreboard. They have his name emblazoned on the field, so it's great stuff. But also great was the backyard brawl. That was Mount Zion against Jonesboro High School. Epic game. Both teams battled down to the wire, and the final score was Jonesboro 16, Mount Zion 8. Jonesboro scoring late in the fourth quarter to increase their lead from 9-8, and then held on a furious rally, stopping Mount Zion at about the Jonesboro 16 or 17-yard line to finalize the game. But again, Jonesboro won it 16-8. What we did is, for the very first time, we decided that we wanted to not only to go ahead and cover the game, but also to pick out a player of the game. So we wanted to go ahead and do that, and that's what we did. We had a player of the game. I'm going to go ahead and pull this out here. I'm going to see if I can get it here for you and go ahead and share the screen. We're going to do so right here. Bam. You can see there on Twitter. It was actually retweeted by Coach Syrup of Jonesboro High School. We went ahead and selected the defensive player of the week and the offensive player of the game. Those two individuals were Cameron Leonard, linebacker from Jonesboro, had 11 tackles, 3 assisted, 1 fumble recovery, and offensive player of the game, Tyrese Williams, running back for Jonesboro, 13 carries, 52 yards. That was until I really stopped to think about what I saw on the field, and I had to kind of take a step back. I said to myself, I'm going to do something a little different. We're not going to just have one offensive player of the game. We have to give a look for the number one player of that game, really the guy who stood out more than anybody. We actually had his coach in the green room. I can't see him right now. Coach Davis was there. I'm going to try to bring him back up. Hopefully he'll pop back on the screen. But we also now have awarded another player of the week, offensive player of the week. He was the dominant player of the game, period. He was the quarterback for Mount Zion, Ward number 10. Tarek Brett, number 10, 21 carries for 205 yards and a touchdown. He is going to now be our other offensive player of the game. That's why we're going to give out 2 awards, one to Jonesboro and one to Mount Zion. Offensive player of the game, Mount Zion quarterback Tarek Brett, 21 carries, 205 yards and 1 touchdown. And I got to tell you, I talked to Jonesboro head coach, Coach Floyd, yesterday, and he talked about the fact that they really had to hang on for dear life as Mount Zion mounted a great drive down the stretch to really, like I said, get the ball in scoring position and attempt to tie the game. And that was led by really the one-man wrecking crew, Tarek Brett. Again, 21 carries, 205 yards. I think he had about 50 or 60 yards on that final drive as he tried to get Mount Zion to tie the game, but unfortunately could not. Again, we're hoping to get Coach Davis on the show with us here. I'm going to go ahead and text him and see if I can bring him back on the line for some comments. We want to get him on. Hopefully we can do so. It would be great if he could join us again to join us here on these final moments of the show. And we're going to try to get him on and to get his comments really quickly. Again, we had Mount Zion. We're going to give Mount Zion quarterback Tarek Brett offensive player of the game as well. He was the dominant player for both teams on either side of the ball. 21 carries for 205 yards and a touchdown in a very close, very hard-fought 16-8 loss to their arch rival, the Jonesboro Cardinals. Again, we want to give a congratulations to the Cardinals. We also want to give a congratulations to our other offensive player of the game, and that is Tarek Brett. 21 carries, 205 yards for the Mount Zion Bulldogs. Like I said, one-man wrecking crew, and had the Mount Zion Bulldogs knocking at the door of a potential score. And then, of course, if they scored, they would need a 2-point conversion to tie the game. Epic game played in the backyard brawl. Again, final score, I'll pop it up here for you guys who are not aware, because ironically, I found out on my score stream, it did not have the score. A lot of people thought the game was going to be canceled. It was not. The Thursday night game was canceled because it was a cross-county game between a DeKalb High School team and a Clayton County team. DeKalb not starting to play high school football until October. So final score again, Jonesboro 16, Mount Zion 8. And again, the other player of the game, we did award offensive player of the game for Jonesboro, a defensive player also for Jonesboro as well. But our other offensive player of the game is a young man that really was a dominant player on both sides of the ball, and that was Mount Zion quarterback Tariq Brett. 21 carries, as you can see there, 205 yards and a touchdown in the backyard brawl. Like I said, we hope to get Coach Davis back on, but he is very, very tied up right now, so we're not going to be able to get him back on the air, it looks like, before the broadcast ends. We're hoping to bring him on. I've texted him to say, come on back on. We want to have you on and join us and talk about, your team's valiant effort in the backyard brawl. Again, like I said, they're just coming from practice, so I know they're a little bit tied up and they had to go. But we want to lead up on the screen there. We're going to be awarding 2 offensive players of the game. Tariq Brett, Mount Zion, the dominant player for both teams on both sides of the ball. Again, 21 carries, 205 yards and a touchdown in a 16-8 loss to crosstown rival Jonesboro. Well, listen, we're going to ask you guys, please join our premier sponsor for high school football, Allen Vigil Ford and Lincoln, to support high school football. We want to be able to give these young men some type of gift for being player of the game. We're going to do something this week. I'm not going to disclose what it is, but we're going to do something for these young men to let them know we appreciate them and their fine performance in the game. But we want to really get some sponsors so we can do something a little bit bigger. We hopefully also at some point want to have a player of the month and then potentially a player of the year here in Clayton County, especially the games played at Tara Stadium. We want to, again, support the South Side. We want to support all of Metro Atlanta, but since I have been on the South Side, since I moved to Atlanta some almost 20 years ago, we want to give big support to the South Side. I'm going to ask you, if you have a business or if you're just a supporter of sports, high school sports especially, and good, clean sports talk, speaking about the positive, we're going to ask you to please give me a call. There's my number, 678-410. You can see it right there on the screen, 678-410-9833. Give me a call. We got great sponsorship and partner packages. And here's the thing. We got stuff, packages. We can get your name up here. You might want to be part of this. We can have your logo emblazoned up on the top part of the screen. We can run you also on a ticker on the bottom of the screen like you see here now. Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. That could be your company brand. But we have lots of great things available for you to partner with us here on this broadcast. And listen to this. We have options available starting at just, I hate to put it out there, $25 a month. Just $25 a month. You can be one of our partners and sponsors for that little bit of money, and know that you're helping to put gifts and donations in the hands of our schools and our players. Everybody, we got to go. We are past the overtime period here on the broadcast. And for those of you who don't know, I also am, in fact, a real minister. I do an actual ministry broadcast here on social media as well. You can follow me on social media, speaking of that, at Minister J. Sim, or the show, you can follow me at Real Talk Sports 7. I try to put out a scripture of the day every day on all of my platforms. I've been working a lot, very hard for Allen Vigil Ford and Lincoln. So I haven't been as diligent as I've been in times past, but please follow me on social media. The other thing too, please go to our YouTube page. Let me tell you what that is. The YouTube page is right there, youtube.com/Real Talk Sports TV. I'll put that also in the social media comments. Please, ma'am, please, sir, go to the page and follow us. And the other thing is, put the notifications on so that you will know when we do a broadcast, because we do a live broadcast, of course, the football game on Friday night. We had over 2,500 people have watched the show already. That's more people, I think, than they get in the stands during the actual game. So we're excited about that. We had almost 700 viewers on Periscope. So combined, we've had over 3,000 views of our shows in less than a week. And so we will be willing to put your ads. We do a video breaks 3 or 4 times during the show. You can have yours truly give you a sponsor mention on the show as well. So again, go to our YouTube page, first of all, become a subscriber, and bing, hit the little bell so that you will be notified when, in fact, we are actually doing a show. So please follow us there on social media, as I mentioned to you earlier. But more importantly, go to our YouTube page and go ahead and follow us right there. You can click on the link on social media and take you right there, and go ahead, be a subscriber, and hit the bell, bing, 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 to let you know that you'll be notified whenever we have the next show. All right, guys, we appreciate you so much for watching us tonight, for tuning in. Hopefully all those of you had a wonderful Labor Day weekend, and you kicked back, got outside, took your mask off, enjoyed the sunshine, maybe stuck your feet in some beach water or some lake water somewhere, ate some good food, and more importantly, enjoy friends and family a little bit. And hopefully you've been, everybody's been well enough that you could even get away with little or no social distancing. I hope you did all of that and then some. And my prayer is that pretty soon that we all will be able to move away from this really almost bondage that's been put on us by the pandemic. All right, guys, before I go, the minister and me has to come out for a second. I ask you the question, do you know Mighty Yahashua HaMashiach, Yeshua, Jesus Christ is your friend, your savior? Do you know him? No? Now, of course, the big question is why not? Because nobody loves you like him, not your mom, not your grandmom, not auntie, and damn, not your BFF, not your bae, your boo. Nobody loves you like Jesus Christ. Why? Because he made us, said the word of God made us. And more importantly, he came here on the earth. He went through all we went through, all of some of those things that he was tempted by, hungry, sick, all that stuff. And he went and did the ultimate sacrifice, paid the penalty for our sins, died on the cross, horrific death, and God raised him from the dead. So here's the key how you connect with him. 1, you confess to God your sins. 2, you believe what I just told you. I know it's, yeah, well, that's hard to believe. You can do it because it's true. Believe that and then tell somebody. And voila, God has now changed you, has become part of God's official family. You're now adopted into the family. And now you have a direct connection with God. How cool is that? And when you leave here, you get to go to a happy place called heaven, 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 heaven. Heaven's such a great place. The streets are paved with a gold that's so translucent. It's so pure that's translucent. And jewels everywhere. Bling galore. And no pandemic, no protest, no police brutality, no pain of any type. Just other happy people. And most of all, the coolest thing is you get a chance to be with God and Yeshua himself forever and a day. You ask me any question you want, you hang out with him, all that kind of good stuff. And with other people who are like-minded. Instead of going to the unhappy place called H-E-double-L, hell. Nobody wants to go there. That's a bad place. All right, guys, until next week. I shouldn't say until Friday, because good Lord willing, Friday we will be out once again at Terra Stadium. I believe the game of the week will be the Morrow Mustangs against the Forest Park Panthers. Big showdown there at Terra Stadium. Game time is at 7:30. We try to go on a few minutes early so we can give you some of the pregame stuff. Let the kids run out on the field, all that kind of good stuff. So remember, keep it locked right there. Let me put up the place where you need to watch it. It's on youtube.com/Real Talk Sports TV. Bam! You'll see the Clayton County High School Game of the Week, brought to you by Allen Vigil Ford and Lincoln. They're located at 6790 Mount Zion Boulevard in the city of Morrow, Georgia. You can shop them 24/7 online at allenvigilford.net. Remember, if you are looking for a car for yourself or your family, you need to go no further. I will be your personal automobile concierge. You can call me at 678-410-9833. Again, that's 678-410-9833. Love to help you or your family member or your business get a new vehicle, and we will give you a very pleasant experience, one that you're probably not used to from buying a car. All right, guys, we got to go for real. Until the next time, you know, as I tell you, God bless you. Have a great night. So long now. Oh, I'm still on. We'll try it again. God bless you. Have a great night. So long.